describe your life before Christ and what was your turning point?
Okay. One is reckless and extremely disobedient. My turning point, I was actually 21 years old in college, and I had a lot of reasons why I wanted to leave, mainly because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do as a student, and my grades wasn't up to par, so I was like, okay, that's one reason to leave. I just don't want to do this anymore. I came to party anyway. So I actually went home back to Fort Walton Beach for a weekend, and my friend's dad started a church. So we went to go see how the church was. So we went to the church, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this. But then I went back to, I actually live in Tallahassee, FAMU, so y'all basically know how that is. So went back to FAMU, still partying, doing all that. Went back to church another weekend. It's like, okay, so I'm starting to stick. This ain't feeling right. So I went back to Tallahassee, kept trying to go party, kept trying to fool around with all these people. And then I just finally felt something and said, okay, it's time to go ahead and shift, because I started feeling weird now, going to church and actually liking it, feeling convicted about it. And it wasn't just me going just to go, but I actually, enjoyed the word was very convicting to me. So, I gave my life to Christ then. I was baptized, of course, when I was like 8. I did it just because I thought I was going sweating. I'm just saying. So I didn't really know what I was doing. But when I got to be 21, which is weird because most people decide to live their life. They started to live their life, as in the world at 21 because you could drink and stuff. I wasn't a drinker, so that wasn't my thing. I just liked to party and dance. I was the first one in there and I was the last one to leave. So, excuse me. So, when I decided, I gave my life to Christ and I said, okay, God, I think I'm going to do this now. I said, I have to leave. I called my Mom, I got to come home. I can't do this anymore because my house was the party house. People would show up day and night, knocking on the door. I couldn't sleep. Yes, come on, 7 o'clock in the morning, let's do it. Turn on the music, let's turn it up. That was me. And people would come unannounced and I would tell them, listen, I'm not doing this anymore. Guess what? They was like, yeah, you're just playing. We just don't keep coming over there. So I kept letting them come. Guys would show up random, and it was like getting overwhelming. So I said, Mom, I'm ready to come home. I want to, live right. And of course, I was Mama's baby. Come on. And she wanted me there anyway. So it was easy. So I left everything in Tallahassee, went back home, and started, going to the church full time. And the pastor wanted me to immediately plug in. It was like he knew if I did not have something to do, I was going to quickly go back out. And I knew God had a calling, and I didn't know what He was going to do and how He was going to do it, but I was ready to do it, and I just left it all behind.
But relationship, when I really started to know God, when I met Apostle Boyd, but then Evangelist Boyd, I was 21. It's been almost 30 years of my life, and I've known him. But relationship, really getting to know God, that was at the turning point. God allowed me to meet Him. Strange, I met Him before I met Him. I had a vision of Him in a dream. In the dream, He was a white man, but we were really tight and close. And at the time I was married to another lady, I said, well, I woke up that next morning, I said, I'm going to meet a man named David. Just like that. And just as sure, probably a month later, I did meet him. And he introduced me to relationship with God. So that's what.
How do a young person establish a personal relationship with God?
Oh, I tell you real quick. You got a boyfriend? You got a girlfriend? What you do with them? You spend time with them. It's simple. Don't make God so mystical. Don't, He is deity, but He's personal at the same time. And so, really, to have a relationship with God, you spend as much time with Him as you spend with your bestie. Am I okay? Did I say something right? All right, now I'm going to talk about, but BFF and all this stuff. But when you start putting that time into a relationship with Him, see, and Love him. I'm telling you, you have not found a friend like Jesus. You just have not. You just have not. And even if you cannot, even if you feel like you cannot, listen, you might think it's this question too. Even if you feel not like you are too dirty or too sinful or too far gone, and how can God love me? That's why he loves you. That's the whole thing. That he don't want you to come all sanctified and holy. He wants you to come the way you are. That's what he wants. He wants you to say, I need you. That's how you develop it. I gotta have you. Without you, I'm nothing. God, you know what I am. You know what I would do. You know what I would say. You know if you do it one more time, what's going to happen to it? Like run over with the car. You know what I mean? Something like that. You know, that's what y'all want. And so those things are in us. God knows everything. So what are you telling him that he don't know? He wants you to admit it. He said, I took Israel in the wilderness for 40 years to show them what was in them. He knew. And he knows us in us. All he wants you to say is, God, you know what? It really is in me. All 17 of them. Because if I'm guilty of one, I'm guilty of all.
Come on, sister.
I mean, it's just something that just changes, your whole atmosphere, your whole mindset, So, I mean, I had to definitely have a personal relationship where I did talk to him. So when you said that, it was like, yeah, you need to spend time. You need to talk to him. You need to read your word so that you'll know when you do hear from him. I mean, because a lot of the times we do hear from him and we think that it's just my conscience. No, that's him speaking. That's him speaking to you, especially when you go places you're not supposed to be, or you're talking or doing things that you're not supposed to do, and you feel like, because nobody's around that will get on you about it, it's okay. But guess what? He's watching. He's watching, and he knows, and he's waiting for you to stop, and then, it says in the word that he will always give you a way out when there's temptation, and it's like, I would know that. Oh my Lord, I would know that. And he's still like, nope, I don't even want to see it. I'm going to do it anyway. And like we was talking about earlier, he going to forgive me, so I'm going to just do it. So, but you do have to come to a point where you get tired of disappointing God. You have, those thoughts where it's like, okay, I don't want to disappoint this friend or my mom. What about God? God is the one that matters the most. We sometimes only want to live our rights according to what other people say, or just for other people in general, just to look good in their eyes, or just so that they will be okay with us. But at the end of the day, they're not the ones that's going to be standing there looking at you like, all right, remember all that stuff? Okay, Lord, I'm sorry, I was saying, forgive me. But at the same time, it's like, you really have to get to a point where you just care what he thinks about, what bothers his heart, what troubles him, and you just want to give it all up to him and just live a life according to his word, which is something that we really fail to do. We can read a scripture a day and be like, I've read. No, you need to really read and study and put that in your heart. Let the words, be in your vocabulary. Let it be something that you speak daily. But, I really had to come to a place where I was like, okay, I'm going to get into his word and I'm going to study and I'm going to really write notes, because just reading it wasn't doing it for me. It wasn't sticking. And I didn't want to just memorize just to say I know scripture. Because the devil knows scripture. He know the whole Bible. So, you have to live it, you have to walk it, you have to speak it over yourself. But yes, a relationship is the number one thing that's very important. But in order to have a relationship, you have to spend time. You have to talk to him, listen to him too. And so that's what I say.
What advice would you give to college students or young adults in particular that you do feel alone? You absolutely do feel alone. I had my friends, but I didn't go out with them anymore. I sat in the room and did nothing. I read my Bible, and I did go out and find some people, but other than our love for God, we didn't have anything to talk about. And I didn't want to sit and read the Bible with you all day, to be honest. So my question is, what advice would you give for those college students who are in that situation?
Well, one thing that we fail to realize, there are actually a lot of Christian-based groups that are actually on the college campuses. But guess what? They don't get no acknowledgement. You don't talk about it. You don't hear about it. You don't see flyers. You don't see nothing. But I would recommend that they actually seek them, you know, and then you can actually, because actually, it's funny. My first year, I believe I was there talking to this guy, and he was saved. And I was calling myself trying to change him. And you need to come hang out with me. And he was like, no, we're going to go to this Bible study. No, we're going to this club. This is what we're going to do. So it's funny because now that I think about it, he was actually a part of a group that they did Bible studies, and he went to church, but I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling that right now. So I would advise to definitely get plugged into some groups that are like-minded. One, and if you can't find any, start your own, because you will eventually find somebody that is on the same page as you, and then you can start, it may be started with 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then eventually you have a whole event going on, you know, because that's honestly the purpose of this ministry, because I was always alone, and I left college. I didn't even finish because I was like, everything back there reminds me of where I came from. So, you know, when God, I said, God, I want to do, if I could throw a party, then I should be able to throw an event for Christ. So I wanted to start something where we can come together, you know, the young, the old, the single, the married, whatever, and we give them ultimates outside of the world, you know what I'm saying? Because this is what we're supposed to be doing, coming together for Christ. But I do recommend, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to give advice because, like I said, I left college and went back home. And the only reason why I was able to stay focused was because of the church, and I was plugged in with the church. I think one of the other things that we don't do while we're in college is go to church. We just go to class and hang out with our friends and go to the mall and shop and whatever, but we don't ever find time for God. So one, you do need to get plugged into a church and a ministry, and then you need to try to find those groups. Because now I think nowadays there are more youth Christian groups that are in the schools. You just have to find them. You have to want it too. But if you can't find them, start your own. It's not hard to start with 1 or 2. You know, find an accountability partner. Even if it's somebody older than you, even if it's somebody grown and married, you need somebody that's going to tell you, you don't need to do that, you know, and that was my issue. I didn't have an accountability partner for a long time. I was on fire. I was one of them Christians. You couldn't tell me nothing, and you couldn't do nothing in front of me because I was going to get you together. Like, I know you ain't just drink that in front of me.